dive into authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation. Ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation. Good morning, good morning, good morning, tea sippers. Good morning. We are live Friday, October 3rd. Today is Diddy's sentencing, y'all. We have been gearing up for this moment, right? So over the last 2 weeks, we have been putting up look backs on how Diddy got convicted from the beginning of our Tea Talk topics on the Diddler, right? So we gone through from the moments of when Diddy was searched and seized, well, his property, because Diddy fled the property, right? And his children were almost seized and things like that. I think Stevie J, so what and so forth. So yeah, we just covered everything from the beginning of from when Diddy was first being sought out to be investigated by Homeland Security, the feds. I don't know about the IRS, but the feds and all of that, right? So I am going to make sure my audio and everything is working. I'm pretty sure today's going to be a long live because I don't know exactly when Diddy's sentencing is going to come down. However, I think it's expected to be around noon. So we are live on Facebook. Let me make sure my audio is working. Exactly when Diddy's sentencing, I think it's expected to be around. Okay, perfect. So let me pin that. Okay, let me check YouTube. Okay. Yes. So, tea sippers, right? We are live on YouTube. Hi, all of our YouTube sippers. Thank you guys so much for sipping tea with Tanisha Talks Teas. And we appreciate all the love and support. We're almost at 500,000 views. That's incredible for 4 months, right? I really, really, really want to thank you guys so much. We've reached our over 1,000 subscribers in 4 months. So thank you guys so much for supporting Tanisha Talks Tea, sipping tea, becoming a tea sipper, dropping your teacups in the chat and letting me know where you are with all the tea that we sip, right? Facebook, we are climbing. Hi, all my Facebookers. I love all my sippers so very much. You guys really show up and show out and support. We're at over 16,000 followers now. I mean, we started about 6 months ago with 4,000 followers, and that was mostly just like people that I know for the most part, and people that have kind of like followed. But to grow from 4,000 to 16,000 is incredible. Y'all don't even know like the overwhelming thankfulness that I feel for y'all embracing me in that way. Thank y'all so much. Okay. We are also live on Twitch. Hey, Twitchers. We are twitching on down on the Twitch streets. I really want to thank all of you guys. We are almost 250 followers over there. You know, it's a slow climb on new platforms, and I'm here for the progress, right? So we all know that you don't get anywhere fast, because if you do, you lose it quickly. So I'm here for it. I really, really want to thank everybody on Twitch for following and becoming a tea sipper. We are also live on Kick. Thank you, all my kickers. We are kicking it on Kick. Doing great, loving all of the engagement and just everybody wanting to, see what's going on with my stream, my channel, give like tips and all of these supportive suggestives about how I can improve my channel. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you guys like some of the changes that we have made to, some of the platforms. We are also monetized on Instagram. So, I mean, Instagram is cracking. Like, I get almost 300,000 views on Instagram. I only have 1,200 followers on Instagram, and I'm thinking that's wildly insane that I'm getting so many views. So they gave me some type of monetization, and so we're tapping into learning more about that, right? And I dabble a little bit now on Snapchat. We have we're the same across all platforms. Tanisha Talks Teas, Sippers, we are the tea sippers. So same on all platforms. And we are now at like 600 followers on Snapchat. I've been on Snapchat for like maybe a month, a couple weeks, I think, maybe. Anyway, and that's incredible. So I really, really, really want to thank y'all for, embracing me on all platforms. Just, coming over here, sitting at the tea table and sipping tea with Tanisha. So thank y'all so much. We're going to get right into today's show. It's Diddy, right? Diddy is back up. Like I said, I've been gearing my sippers up for the Diddy sentencing. So I was like, how can I get my sippers engaged in, being here for my tea talk about Diddy once his sentencing date approaches? And it's here now. And I want to thank the overwhelming support that I've gotten from all of you guys, just allowing me to look back with you guys on what got Diddy convicted. That has been incredible. So what I'm looking to do right after today, I'm going to keep up with the look back on how Diddy got convicted, what brought him to being convicted, because this is a whole series. We're on like part 26. And so they're hour long, so that, I'm breaking them all down to just about 1 hour for you guys. So, you're not so overwhelmed with like 6 to 8 hour lives on Diddy, because that's how I did the content when Diddy's trial was going on, because it was a very long trial, right? So I'm just breaking those all down into 1 hour increments for you guys to look at in parts. Okay. So what brought Diddy to his conviction, and now it's going to be his sentencing, right? So we're just going to put all of these Diddy parts, series parts, into a playlist on our channel, and also include this live as well for you guys to, enjoy and be entertained by everything that brought the super major billionaire mogul to his knees, essentially, in a trafficking soliciting case. Okay, we're gonna jump right into it. So let me share my screen with my sippers and get into Diddy's sentencing. Today is Diddy's sentencing, and he's up for trafficking and soliciting. Alrighty. Okay. So. I always have my fair use disclaimer at the top of the screen on every single show. Okay. So. We're going to tap into the 9 News, their content, if you see so forth fit. Alrighty.
The verdict is in for the high-profile sex trafficking cases against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. He was found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, but was found not guilty on the other charges, including racketeering, which would have carried a max sentence of life in prison. Here to expand a little bit more on that verdict yesterday and what Diddy could be facing at his sentencing is 9 News legal expert Whitney Traylor back with us. Whitney, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, Whitney, as we just mentioned, Diddy was prosecuted on convicted, on those prostitution charges that carry a maximum.
Let me turn off some of my devices, y'all. My stream been working just fine.
Of 20 years, 10 years each. Yeah. How much time is he likely to serve?
It's not even connected. It's not even nothing really connected.
Serve though.
Well, he's definitely not going to get the maximum, and there is the federal sentencing guidelines that the judge has.
We did maximum for Diddy, right? And like, I think each charge, Diddy got maybe 3 charges he was convicted of, y'all, carries a maximum of 10 years, I think. And I think they're trying to give Diddy at least 10 years on one of those charges. So, and they're saying because Diddy is not a felon, Diddy has no criminal history prior to what he's been convicted of today, that he should be, convicted under the statutes of the guidelines according to his previous criminal history.
Has to essentially comply with, and based on his criminal record, his criminal history, it's likely going to be maybe 2 to 3 years. I know the prosecution is asking for, I think,
now this is 61. Diddy, right? Diddy's been trying to throw everything at the judge that he can to get out of prison. Well, jail, but in New York, jail is prison. So he is not going to be candid of 2 to 3 years. I'm sure Diddy's looking probably to get time served because Diddy has been in jail now for over a year, right? I think he went to jail last September and he's just now being sentenced, which is good for an ex-trafficking trial and all of that stuff that he was doing. Diddy's trial went fast, I think, considering all of the evidence and everything else that could have probably been introduced. But not for nothing. I'm sure my kids are home from school today, y'all. So just please understand there's going to be some noise in the background. However, Diddy, I'm pretty sure that, he's looking to get out of jail on something of some time served looking like for Diddy.
Months. The defense is suggesting maybe 2 years. And you have to consider he's also going to have his time served. So he's been incarcerated for 9-10 months. The sentencing hearing is going to be in October. So by the time that happens, it's going to be a year. And on these charges, remember, there's no minimum. So he could literally.
So from when this interview was held, Diddy was in jail around 9-10 months. Now it's been about a year today.
Just get probation. Right. Whereas on the racketeering, on the serious charges, which he was found not guilty, there was a minimum of 15 years. Right. So this is, when you look at the big picture, it's a slap on the wrist.
I want to go back and ask you a question that we asked you yesterday.
Blackman said Diddy got a slap on the wrist, y'all. What do y'all think? Drop those teacups down in the chat when you come in the tea room and gather around the tea table to sip some tea with Tanisha Talks Teas. What do you guys think Diddy got? Do you think he got slapped on the wrist? Do you think he's getting at least some just dues for all of the bad behaviors that we know Diddy has displayed and should be held accountable for, and then some of the shit that Diddy has done that he's not even close to being convicted of. Do you think that at least he's getting some time in the way of justice, or do you think he's getting a slap on the wrist? This isn't nothing. He should get more time. Drop that down in the channel. Let me updates on everything Diddy sentencing. Okay, let's get it.
As far as California goes, could these be served concurrently? Do they have to be served consecutively?
Right. That's up to the judge. And the judge will look at a number of different factors. They'll take into account the victim statements. And so I think most experts are saying, yes, we're looking. I even heard an expert this morning.
I don't think that Diddy also, I'm agreeing with this man. I don't believe Diddy will get probation. Diddy's trial, however, not being what we suspected or expected rather to see in the trial, it was not a good look for the diddler. It was actually very, bad, to say the least, on Diddy's behalf, in his character, and just who Diddy is supposed to be as, a Black billionaire that rose from the ashes of the concrete jungles of New York, right? The smog, the fog, the hogs, and everything else that are in New York, to be who he is. And then to see him, be such a worm in his actual life, a snake, is pretty, it's not Halloween, Ella. Okay, you still got time. She done jumped out on me in a mask. It's not becoming of someone of Diddy's caliber and stature, right? At least we would like to have hoped not. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case for Diddy. Diddy is a monster in some sorts, a very cruel, evil, benign man that, is very shallow and insensitive and, unbeguiling to what you would think someone that dresses like Diddy and puts on like Diddy, very high class, very high value. But in his real life, Diddy is a snake, right? That crawls on his belly and performs at and behaves at a very low acting, vibration. So, yeah.
On the lighter end, so maybe 2 years is probably what a lot of people are suggesting.
Let me pull up the chat here, y'all. Drop those teacups in the chat when you come in the room. Hi, Lori. Lorcy, hello.
All right, interesting. Now, of course, the judge also ruled yesterday that he will remain in prison until that sentencing happens. Were you surprised by this?
Yeah, I really.
So I don't know why. When I toggle back and forth between screens, I start to glitch. I don't know why. I'm using Microsoft. I don't know. My Chrome is completely shot.
Well,
I
surprised
need
because
computer.
He was facing very charges that he was found not guilty on. So the charge, essentially, this was a prostitution charge, which is crime. It's still a felony, but not quite as serious. And his team actually proposed that he post $1 million bond, that he only travel within 4 states, he turn over his passport. I think his mother and his daughter's mother was also going to sign that bond. So it was sort of an interesting proposal. And of course, the prosecution and other victims said, no, he's still terrorizing people. He's still not safe. And so the judge allows him to stay in, so I was a little surprised at that. But he has a few more months, and that will count towards his time served, toward whatever the sentence ultimately ends up being.
Okay, so talking about these 2 charges that he was convicted on, we've heard a lot of critics after yesterday's jurors came back with their verdict. A lot of angry people out there taking to social media who are outside the courthouse right there. What protections are there for these jurors who came to this decision now that they have to face the public?
Yeah, there's not necessarily a lot of protections as to commit crimes towards them. They can be prosecuted, but essentially with the jury gets instructions, particularly while the trial was going on, regarding sequestration and not looking into it and that kind of thing. And different judges will. Some judges allow jurors to go and talk. Some judges say you can't speak about it. In this case, and I think that's a disservice, as I was mentioning yesterday, because the lawyers actually benefit from that information.
In this case, the judge didn't say that they couldn't talk, but he did discourage them from talking.
Right, that's right. And, you know, in these kind of high-profile cases, there's going to be a lot of pressure for people. They're going to be book deals or interviews and that kind of thing. And I think they're going to be able to. I didn't see the judge's order specifically, but I think it was just a discouragement, if you will.
Yeah. All right. Well, Whitney, thank you for coming back. We appreciate it.
About 9 News are paying some bills, so are we. Remember, when you come into the room,
why you may be overpaying for car
let me know you have sat down at the table and ready to do the tea. When Tanisha
We learned Sean
this
Combs
morning, we're up on the Sean Diddy Combs trial. He is scheduled to be sentenced today. Today, guys. Okay, let's get it.
Denied being released from custody while he awaits sentencing. Today, the verdict came back. He was convicted of prostitution-related offenses. A jury acquitted him of sex trafficking and racketeering charges, which would have left him with a possible sentence of life in prison. The attorney representing his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, who has shared emotional testimony, really difficult testimony, spoke after the verdict this morning.
The reaction is that we're pleased. That he's finally been held responsible for 2 federal crimes. Something that he's never faced with, seeing a conviction on the sex crimes in RICO, but we understand beyond a reasonable doubt is a high standard.
Sentencing will now be held October 3rd. We'll continue our coverage with our 9 News legal analyst, Whitney Traylor. The jury came back. Well, yesterday we knew they were deadlocked, at least on the racketeering charge. They came back with this mixed verdict. Is that considered a victory for the defense or prosecution?
Oh, I think in this case, it's unquestionably a victory for the defense. I mean, when you, as you mentioned, what he was facing, potentially life with a minimum of a 15-year sentence on that racketeering and sex trafficking, the fact that he got out, even though these are still federal crimes, he could face up to 10 years on both of them on the maximum sentence, but we know he won't do that. It'll be a lesser time. This was a major victory, and it was really difficult because on the major charges, that one element of that is the coercion aspect, and the defense presented a plethora of text messages indicating that it wasn't coercion, that these ladies actually agreed to it. That was the evidence that was presented. With respect to the prostitution charge, all they had to show was that he paid folks, he brought folks from out of town into engage in these activities. And these male escorts testified that, yeah, we weren't coerced. We were paid thousands of dollars. So that prostitution charge was pretty easy to prove.
Well, it's interesting because the prosecution's case lasted for weeks, and then the defense, they didn't have that many witnesses. Sean Diddy Combs didn't testify in his own defense.
Right.
It was real kind of short and sweet. Do you feel like they knew there really wasn't a case? Those RICO charges were going to be hard to prove from the beginning.
Yeah, the RICO charges were going to be tough to prove. But the fact that the defense didn't produce any witnesses doesn't mean they were lackadaisical about it, because they had the opportunity to cross-examine. Trial is cross-examination and closing. And the cross-examination, most lawyers will say, on direct, you want them to focus on the witness testifying. On cross, you actually want them to focus on you. It almost doesn't matter what the witness says. And so the fact that I think the prosecution called over 40 witnesses, and the defense was able to cross-examine each of them so that they didn't feel it was relevant to bring them back in their case in chief. And then, of course, Sean Combs not testifying. I'm not surprised at that at all, because you have a Fifth Amendment right to not self-incriminate. And a lot of times the defendants don't want to testify because it can open the door. Cross-examination is brutal. Many times it can open the door to, if you've had any other kind of criminal history. And you have to remember, the prosecution has the burden of proof. So it's, in some ways, and beyond a reasonable doubt, as that prosecutor just said, is a high burden to meet. And so when you're on the defense, you're really just picking at the prosecution's case. So I'm not surprised at that defense strategy. And obviously it worked, because he won on these major charges.
It worked.
Yeah.
Well, you look at the jury, what they've gone through for the last few months, what they've listened to alone. And then you also have somebody that's extremely well known sitting right there, and all his family. His mom was there every day. And I mean, human nature plays a role, I think, sometimes into this too. But wow, that testimony from Cassie alone just was really compelling. So now today they said, you got to stay in prison.
Yes. Now,
what does that mean?
So that means until his sentencing. So there was a hearing today that I think it actually may still be going on, but I do understand that the judge said, no, you can't be released. And so the defense was saying, hey, we'll post $1 million bond signed by him, his mother, I think one of his daughters. And they agreed to turn over the passport and only travel to 4 states. And the judge said no. And I thought, based on those charges, because he won on the more serious charges, I thought they would have actually said, yeah, he can get out, but no, he won't. So he's been in now for 10 months. The sentencing will be in October, so by the time he goes, he'll have already served a year, which will count towards his time. So he may only be facing 2 or 3 or 4 more years in jail.
Yeah, but it's not all over. We're getting a rap, but he's got 80 civil cases, so his legal troubles, and he was on his hands and knees praying and all that stuff, but he's still got an uphill battle, at least when it comes
on the
to
civil side.
Yes,
years of litigation for sure.
Yeah, he'll be back in court.
Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you, Whitney.
Sure.
Okay, as I was saying, I was muted the entire time. 4 years is a lot for Diddy, right? I don't think Diddy will be okay with 4 years. To no, avail. He cannot get out of jail. And just such is life for Diddy right now. And so, Diddy does not, of course, who would want to be in jail. 4 years is going to be a long time to be sitting in jail, to a pit. You know, so all of his menacing, terrorizing that he was doing all across these great states and abroad, right? So, I mean, I know that from what Diddy, you know, looked like and was doing, that he's not going to want to sit in jail for 4 years. Yeah, so we're going to continue to get into it and see. Court TV is live with Diddy stuff, live updates, Diddy X trafficking. Let's get into it. Let's get it.
To make any sense.
He was evil.
What devastation.
All I can do is scream.
He was covering or deceiving.
Judge. I mean, at the end of the day, the judge is going to consider all of the evidence and all of the testimony submitted during the guilt innocence phase of this trial. That includes that Cassie
last year. So September, he went into jail. So then right now we're in October. So they're saying by December, he should be able to get out. Then you have a recommendation also by the U.S. Probation Department, who sat down, who conducted an interview with Sean Diddy Combs, took a look at his background. They have come up with a sentencing recommendation of 5 years to 7 years on the top end. So quite a difference between all of these sentencing recommendations. I know you were playing that video before. Defense counsel is planning to play that video today for the judge during the sentencing hearing. And also, Ted, we are expecting to hear from Sean Diddy Combs himself. According to the filings by defense counsel, Sean does intend to address the judge and express remorse, talk about taking responsibility for his actions and saying, if you let me out and have mercy on me, I will never commit another crime again. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what he says in court, but we do have a preview from the letter he has submitted, Ted.
Yeah, that letter is pretty extensive, going into asking and pleading, really, for the judge a second chance at all of it, being a father, being a leader, being this and that. What a scene it is going to be inside that courtroom and outside the courthouse. And Kelly's going to be there in a federal courtroom. So we rely on Kelly, and she will provide all the information as it comes in. Kelly, thank you. Talk to you soon. Here to discuss this, let's break it down. Criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Lindsay Richards. Let's start with this PR video that the team created, and boy, you watch.
Okay, so they say at 10 a.m.
It's a lot. It's a lot. If you're trying to sway potential fans, like the public, I get it, maybe. You know, it's sort of a look at how great a guy I am. But a federal judge? I mean, this is a pretty tough audience to be showing baby pictures and me being a great dad video. Your thoughts on this strategy to try to sway a judge with behind the scenes of Sean's life in a positive way?
You know, I think that it's creative, for sure. I personally have never seen this done in all of my years of being not only a former prosecutor, but a defense attorney now. I've never seen a video submitted. I do think you're right that this is more an attempt to sway the court of public opinion than it is going to sway a judge. I mean, at the end of the day, the judge is going to consider all of the evidence and all of the testimony submitted during the guilt-innocence phase of this trial. That includes that Cassie Ventura video. That includes all of the testimony by victims of his crimes. And the letter he submitted, I will tell you, to me, although taking some responsibility, wasn't really taking full responsibility or really understanding the extent to which he's done damage to so many women. And he was a father at the time that he was doing all of these things. So I don't know if this video of showing him having children is really going to sway the judge in the way that they're hoping.
Yeah, I mean, he's a video of him finishing a 10K or a half marathon. I mean, I don't know. He's showing the best things of himself and his life. It's nice, but they're here for the other video, the one outside the elevator bank of him dragging a woman and kicking her in the head. And the judge has seen that, and the judge has heard all of the testimonials of people that say he was a monster in and around him. What about the fact that the jury said not guilty to the top charges, and he's not being sentenced for dragging Cassie at the elevator bank? He's sentenced for something else. To what degree does that bleed in legally? Can it, in terms of the judge's decision here, and as a human being, he can't unsee it?
Correct. So it actually, legally, it all comes in. So these are all considered prior bad acts that the state can use and prove up as reasons to increase his sentence, and essentially use it as a reason to give him the maximum sentence. So all of those are prior bad acts. And if there's more victims that they put in the stand during this punishment phase, that's also taken into consideration. So even though he wasn't convicted on those racketeering charges and the evidence that was presented didn't fit neatly.
Is your team spending more time on timesheets than their actual?
Diddy today. Today's Diddy sentencing, y'all. Y'all know we've been gearing up over here on Tanisha Talks T show. How much time do you think Diddy will get? How much time do you think the diddler will get? This one's 14 months with time served.
Or do you think that typically in cases that you've been exposed to, judges can be swayed?
I will say it really depends on the judge. I do think the fact that the U.S. attorneys in this particular case asked for at least 11 years tells me that they kind of know this judge and maybe his way of thinking. So I'm anticipating he's going to hand down a sentence probably around 10 years is my guess, but I'm not totally sure. That's just totally a guess for me.
So he would be leaning towards, and you know, the bail hearing, we did learn a little bit because, you know, one of the arguments from the defense was, hey, he should be out on bail because likely he's not going to be getting a ton of prison time here. He's sort of already served significant jail time, and the judge slapped that down basically and said, well, we don't know about that in terms of his length of time. The U.S. Probation Office, though, says 5 to 7. Do you think he departs upward at the end of the day?
I do. I mean, realistically, he could give 20. If he wanted to max him out, he could give 20 years, have 10 on each and run them consecutive. My guess, and this is just a total guess, I've never practiced in front of this judge, but a lot of times, like you were saying before, they do kind of have their mind made up and they know what direction they're heading in. And the prosecutors do have an advantage in the way that he works. And so I do think he gives 10, and I think he runs it concurrent. I think the defense team was being a little bit optimistic in thinking that, oh, he should be released on bail, he's not going to get much time. I think that is minimizing the extent of these prior bad acts that the judge has already heard about.
Yeah, they're asking for time served, 14 months total, which basically time served, let him out for Christmas kind of thing. That likely is not going to happen, but we'll see where it ends up. Again, our Kelly Craft is going to be there for us, our eyes and ears, and we'll get you the latest information as it comes in. Again, 10 o'clock Eastern is when they're supposed to get underway. We shall see what happens. We're going to get a break. When we come back, we're going to turn to the sentencing of a case that we've been tracking here at Court TV. It's a heartbreaker. The killer uncle murdering sentence.
All right, let's catch up on Court TV because we're all Diddy this morning, okay? Only Diddy, only Diddy. Remember, when you come into the room, sit down at the tea table, pick your teacup up to be filled with Tanisha Talks Teas. Also, drop those teacups down in the chat. Let me know where you stand on the United States versus Diddy. Do you think he should get upper excessive amount of 11 plus years or lesser than 2? Drop that down in the chat with your teacups. Thank you for sipping tea. We're sipping tea with Tanisha Talks Teas. I've been gearing y'all up for this, dropping nothing but Diddy content. So all of the part 1 through 26 so far will go into its own playlist along with this show as well. Plus, we're going to continue to follow up with Diddy on how he, is faring while he's incarcerated for whatever amount of time he gets. Also, after he gets released from jail, whenever that is, and starts to face his civil lawsuits as well. Let's get it.
So difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you got to do that. I was up.
When Sean first proposed freak-offs, what was your reaction?
Oh, I just remember, my stomach falling to my butt. I was just in love and wanted to make him happy.
Me and you could be mad, I could have a spat, we could have whatever. Then after that, you better get on your job. That's really, that's all it is.
I'm doing great. How are you, Your Honor? Good. I want to tell you thank you. You're doing an excellent job.
In just a few minutes, Sean Diddy Combs will be sentenced. Well, at least the hearing's going to get underway. It's going to take a while. As many of us know, a jury acquitted Combs of the more serious racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking charges that could have put him behind bars for the rest of his life. He was found guilty, though, on prostitution-related charges. And that's what's going to be dealt with today. How much time should he spend in prison, if at all? This is a look at some of the arrivals happening. This happened moments ago. We're expecting the hearing to get underway at any moment. It's supposed to be a 10 o'clock start, so here we are 2 minutes away. Likely going to be a little delayed because of all of the attention. People have been lining up overnight for spots in the courtroom, and a lot of people will be speaking, including, we expect, the defendant, Sean Combs. He says he's taken full responsibility and accountability for his, quote, past wrongs. That was in a letter written to the judge. The defense is also expected to play an 11-minute video, this is odd, of Sean Diddy Combs at home, etc., in court. Here's a snippet of it.
What are you giving to the world? I don't think you know.
When my baby cries.
You gotta give her a bottle then. Know that you mean something to people. Know that you mean something to people, like you live. Somewhere in people's...
All right, video of Sean Diddy Combs at home, interacting with his children and looking like a good guy. Will it sway the judge? Let's bring in Brian Watkins, criminal defense attorney, an excellent one at that. He is in the state of California. Brian, good morning to you on this Friday. The judge has a huge amount of leeway here. The government wants 11 years and 3 months. The defense is saying time served, basically. They want 14 months. At the end of the day, where do you think the judge is going to land?
You know, I think and I hope that this trial was. Never in history has there been a one-man RICO case. Never in history has there been a one-man conspiracy case. I mean, this prosecution was so overboard, so malicious. It's funny. You know, you look at the young man who was the hired stripper, dancer, whatever you want to call him.
The Punisher.
That's what he did. Yeah, okay. That's what you do. That's what he does for a living. Of all of his clients, Sean Puffy Combs was the only one that was prosecuted. I mean, the bottom line here is people, you know, adult dancers and entertainers all the time, they're not prosecuted for it. And now you had Sean Puffy Combs, life in prison, the same sentence that Charles Manson got for what he did. And it's outrageous. The feds are going way above and beyond abuse of power. It's incredible to me.
There's a video there of the family arriving, including the twin daughters in matching outfits as they enter the courtroom to see what happens to Sean Combs. Brian, what did you think of this video? A marathon or a half marathon, he's at home with the kids. I'm not sure a federal judge is going to be swayed by a well-produced, beautifully produced video of a defendant. What's your take on this strategy? But will a judge be swayed by this?
You know, I hope he's just reminded of the fact that he has a life. Yes, he had a sex life that was, when you're talking about, like you said, he was looking at life in prison. When you're talking about taking away his life, taking away all these other parts, the parts, you know, taking him away from his children, harming his children, you know, all the other things that he did in his life other than his sex life. And his sex life shouldn't be the dominant factor in his life. And that's what they're hoping the judge understands, that there's more to Sean Diddy Combs than his sex life.
Those were the charges he was found guilty on. This jury sat through it. And to your point, at the end of the day, they said no to the most serious charges. So the ceiling here is 20 years. It's not going to get there. The government wants 11 years. How much of the facts of the other charges that were presented, i.e. the elevator video of him physically abusing Cassie, how much does that bleed in? And how much should it bleed in? When the jury found him not guilty on the serious charges and he has been found guilty on prostitution-related charges, does the other stuff, should it come into play?
Legally speaking, it absolutely does come into play. The judge can consider all the facts of the case, and the prosecution always argues all the charges that they lost. So absolutely, the video of him, you know, being physical with her in the hotel room, all that stuff comes in, and that's Cole brothers. You know, they were the cocaine brothers. They were racing boats and running cocaine back in the 80s, and they were found not guilty of murder, cocaine trafficking, all the charges except some sort of a little insurance fraud charge, and they ended up giving them 90 years for the insurance fraud. Why? Because the judge factored in all the murders and all the other evidence that he heard that they were found not guilty of. And that's what scares me. You know, the judge didn't let this guy out on bond. You're really going to tell me that Sean Diddy Combs is a flight risk? Where is he going to go and not be recognized and seen? Is he really going to flee to face a prostitution charge and live in exile the rest of his life in some secret island? I mean, it's unusual. It's outrageous, really, to think that he's a flight risk, that he should not have been granted bail. I mean, he's a person that gets no bail, like the most heinous murderers. So when the judge starts treating him like that, I do get worried that the judge is going to say, I wish they found you guilty of everything, and I'm going to sentence you as though they did.
Yeah, that's a good point. During that bail hearing, the defense made basically that argument. This guy's not going anywhere. He's been convicted of prostitution-related crimes. He should be out on bail, and the judge said no. So that he may have been basically tipping where he's heading. We'll see. We'll find out. Again, the hearing just getting underway now. Kelly Craft is there. No cameras. It's federal. Underway now. Our Kelly Craft is there. No. We get out of our team in New York. We'll pass along to you. And again, of course, we'll find out what this judge decides in terms of a sentence. Right now, we want to go back to that horrible case. To the murders in the courtroom. More victim impact statements.
Thank you.
On what happens in terms of a sentence for Sean Combs. Also, we're in New Hampshire, and we have been watching this gut-wrenching sentencing hearing in the killer uncle murdering sentence. 19-year-old Eric Sweeney faces life in prison without parole for murdering his sister-in-law and 2 young nephews. Back in August, he entered pleas of guilty. Dawson. This is Cassandra Sweeney's cousin. She's up next.
Okay, we're not
speak.
The Cassandra Sweeney case. We're gonna go back to the live Diddy sentencing stuff. Thank you guys so much for sipping tea with Tanisha Talks Tea this morning. We are up on the Diddy live sentencing, right? Today is the day of reckoning for the diddler. He will know his fate. He will know his fate. Okay. Harvey Levin's talking about y'all. Remember, when you come into the room, sit down at the table, lift your teacups up to get filled up with Tanisha trial, conviction, and sentence. What will be his fate? Up to 11 years or more. And will he get a slap on the wrist? I will be upgrading my computer. Every time I say don't touch my computer, I use it for work. They do. So, yeah.
Mia, the jury didn't find that they were victims. They did not.
Hi, Bethany.
Find that because he was found not guilty of sex trafficking. The Mann Act has nothing to do with them. It has to do with the sex. Well, it has to do with
Hi,
sex.
Kenny 2222. Thank you for watching.
Doesn't make them a victim.
Or just be.
Yes, Bethany, you can share.
I get it, but
any of my content.
Their testimony, as far as this,
it's not.
And thank you so much for supporting.
I'm saying they've already testified as witnesses, but it's not victims' impact.
Let me just say this. Cassie, to say that about Cassie.
No, I didn't. You didn't hear what I said.
I thought you said Cassie and Jane.
I said Mia and Jane.
Oh, Mia, yeah.
Yeah.
Mia was
saying
not part of it. Got
Cassie
it.
definitely is a
Right.
victim because the 2016 video was introduced into evidence.
So you remember the things that happened while the Mann Act was violated? Like her being peed on?
Well, no. But what I'm saying to you is that would be.
People are saying in the
problem is
chats,
the jury didn't
at
find
TMZ, lock
that
them
lack
up.
of consent.
No, I
The
get
guy
it.
And that's what I'm saying.
But at least that is directly
Has the
related to
tapes.
the violations of the Mann Act, right? She's in the freak off when these things happen to her.
But
so
but what they
that's why
argued,
her
what the defense argued was that was consensual. Well, no, they did.
I get that they argued that.
And the jury didn't find it wasn't, is my point. I'm not saying it was or wasn't. I'm just saying when the judge is ruling, there was no.
I'm just saying, what I'm saying is that the judge, from what I've read, will take into consideration acts of violence or that were done during these
People think
when
yes, that
we'll see.
because he has
But if there were
high
acts of
value,
violence,
high power, that he would
then he would have been convicted on sex
early
trafficking.
total BS.
Sure. No, that's what sex trafficking is. If you are violent where somebody is not consenting,
correct,
then you are guilty of sex trafficking.
Right.
Under that law.
But will the judge take into consideration Cassie's testimony of what she says happened? I get it that the defense isn't saying she was discredited and this, that, da.
Well, they found her not. They found
things that are related to the violations of the Mann Act, right? So anytime that a prostitute was hired, taken over state lines, and they had whatever encounters they had, whatever happened during those, it should be relevant to the sentence.
Okay, let me give you a hypothetical.
I'm just asking you.
No, let me give you a hypothetical.
How about you just answer my question?
Okay, the answer is no.
Okay.
And
thank you.
Hold on. If two people
I should be taking to law school.
If two people engage in S&M,
right,
voluntarily,
right,
you could call that violence, couldn't you?
It depends on how they view it after the fact.
Suppose they've not after the fact, during the fact.
No, during the fact, sure. Yeah. Okay.
If they consent and say somebody gets whipped, that would be a violent act if it were non-consensual. Right.
Correct.
Okay.
It's a violent act.
It's a violent act.
It's a violent act, period, but you may be into that violent act.
If it's consensual, are you a victim?
Of what?
A victim of anything. Are you a victim?
You can't just say a victim. I don't know. Maybe a victim of something. I'm not a victim of, if I wanted that, then no, I'm not a victim of that particular act.
So his position was, this was, and again, I'm not embracing what he's saying. His position to the jury,
feels like you are a little
I'm
bit,
not,
but
because I already said Cassie can't be considered a victim.
Right.
Certainly based on the 2016 video, which was introduced into evidence.
Right.
She can be called a victim.
See, you're saying only based on that video, and I'm saying that the things that Jane and Cassie said happened to them during the freak-offs, the judge take into consideration. I don't know if he will, but he can. Well, legally.
Legally, the question is, will the judge do it if the jury found basically, look, there's no proof there was no consent there because you got no consent to whatever was done. And had there been no consent, he would have been found guilty of sex trafficking. He wasn't found guilty of sex trafficking because they couldn't find there was that lack of consent beyond a reasonable doubt. So if they're
beyond a reasonable doubt.
Well, now the question is, can the judge lower the standard?
Exactly.
And he hasn't said, no, he hasn't said. But
he hasn't said, but he can. The law allows him to do that. I don't know if he's going to.
There might be a reversible error issue here at some point, and it's one of the things.
See, now he's going to bring up legal terms that I don't.
Because it's a legal thing. Yeah, sentencing is a legal thing. That's why I'm bringing it up.
No, I know.
It's not a baseball game.
No, but
it's a legal
explain reversible error.
So if the judge has a certain amount of discretion, but if he considers issues that he shouldn't, then an appellate court.
Well, what do you mean he shouldn't? What?
Well, that's
who determines what he shouldn't.
Well, ultimately
the law does, right?
Well, but the law is not crystal clear on what the judge can consider. They don't, the law doesn't have every case and say, oh.
I mean, there are guidelines for the judge, right?
And the question is, does he go beyond the guidelines to...
Well, if he goes beyond the guidelines, then obviously that's
to call
an error.
Jane or Mia a victim and consider them as victims.
What if we lose the label victim, all right? That doesn't matter. Take the label away. Can he take into consideration the things that they either testified to or, in this case, Cassie has written this very passionate letter about what she's going through still. Can he take that into consideration?
I think Cassie's different than Mia, and...
Absolutely, take Mia out of it. Cassie and Jane.
Cassie and Jane.
Cassie and Jane.
Cassie's different than Jane.
How?
Because of the 2016 video. The judge has incontrovertible evidence that he was a violent man toward Cassie. It was admitted into evidence. There's not...
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Until then, stay inspired and remember, always stay sipping.